This video is sponsored by Surfshark, the best VPN on the market. Surfshark is an app or browser extension that allows you to change your location to access websites in other countries and keep you safe from hackers. For example, we here in Ireland can access other countries' Netflix libraries, streaming services such as DAZN in Spain for those all-important Premier League games. Surfshark keeps you safe and private by protecting everything you do online. When your device connects to the internet, all that information is, in a way, blurred out. Surfshark is particularly useful for keeping you safe if you use public Wi-Fi, such as a college or a cafe. Surfshark allows you to use one subscription on unlimited devices, meaning that you can even share an account with friends and family. On top of this, Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you don't like it, you can even get your money back. Our sign-up offer gives you Surfshark VPN for just over €2 per month and up to 4 months free. Why not scan the QR code on screen or use the link in the description to take advantage of this offer. What is up, my fellow data lovers? How are we? You are very welcome along to tonight's late night agenda, where we're going to try and have a little bit of fun this evening. I know that there's lots of transfers happening around the world at the minute, but none of them yet really applying to Liverpool Football Club, although the Curtis Jones situation is moving along. What we've seen over the last hour is Andy Robertson confirmed by Fabrizio Romano as going to Spurs. He gave the here we go on that one. We'll be talking about Anthony Gordon, as those who didn't want him at Liverpool no longer have to worry. He's headed to Barcelona. We'll talk about lots more as well. What is Richard Hughes doing over in Monaco? That and lots more to come over the next couple of hours. I hope you've all had a good day thus far. Do keep me up to date with what is happening in the Conference League final if you could. Obviously, I wanted to be here with you guys, so I didn't want to have the game on. So yeah, look, loads to go through. The first poll question of tonight, I thought I'd ease us in a little bit. And I've just asked, do you like the new home kit? Because for me, and I probably should have put this into the question better, but I was in a bit of a rush because I was late. I like the shirt. I think the new shirt is nice, but it doesn't go with the shorts. It just looks weird. Now, I know the old kit had shiny shorts as well, the retro, the real one from 1989-90, but I don't know on this one, lads. I like the shirt. Shirt looked good, but I'm not really a fan of the shorts. Usually when you see the whole kit together, you get a better understanding of it. And for me, it kind of falls down on the shorts and socks. So I like the shirt, not a fan of the shorts. So I guess if I had to push for the whole kit, probably no. But the shirt I do think is good. Now, obviously, as I've said, I'm not buying any of the Liverpool stuff until Arna is adios. But yeah, I just wanted to get your take on it because we haven't really touched on it too much here on the channel. Trefoil badge. I know. I mean, they really missed a trick with that, didn't they? Motorhome Dreamer. Yeah, they really did miss a trick not having the trefoil badge on it. Now, I think it'll be on the away of the third kit, but yeah, it would have looked great on that one. So yeah, I agree with you on that 100%. Right, let's get cracking with a couple of bits of news. So let's start off with the crazy story of the day, and then I'll get into Itachi Super Chat. But the crazy story of the day was the one that came out about Florian Wirtz from Footy Insider. Now, I covered this in the video earlier on today, but it really is, it's just madness at this point to even think this could be possible. So Footy Insider said Xabi Alonso is a huge fan of Florian Wirtz and is keen for Chelsea to sign him this summer in a sensational move. Sources say Liverpool will be open to letting Wirtz go for the right deal, even though they publicly deny it. Come on, lads. Really? I mean, there's no way Liverpool are going to contemplate getting rid of Florian Wirtz, let alone to a rival in the Premier League. It's madness. Now, look, if they sell Enzo Fernandez, they're probably going to have a pot of money there, but then again, it is Chelsea and they always seem to find a way to spend money. But there's no way. There would be absolute uproar if they were even considering selling. So I think that is absolute garbage, personally. Anfield Edition give these lads the bronze medal of reliability, I guess. So they're probably right on that one, but it's just a mad story, isn't it? I know it hasn't been the year we'd all hope for Florian in his first year at the club, but come on now. There's nothing to that, surely. Itachi, how are we, my man? Said, evening, Craig. I hope you're doing good. So Slot is making every player worse. It seems looking towards Frimpong and maybe more like Maka. I don't know what's going on, mate, with our transfer business. Look, we know Richie Robot is over in Monaco. We know there have been meetings with Inter Milan around Curtis Jones, but I guess the real question I would have as a fan is, why is he over in Monaco and who is he looking for? Are we looking to bring in one of the French lads in the DM position? Is he looking for Akliouche maybe? I don't know, but we know he's over there according to reports, so I guess your feedback on that one would be very much welcome. Now, I believe that there was supposed to be a firing today, wasn't there? Wednesday? Lads, it's Wednesday and Slot hasn't been fired yet. What's going on? Now, you can't blame me on this one. I took my humble pie the other day. But somebody was saying, wasn't it, that Wednesday was supposed to be firing day? I've not seen it yet. Although, I'm not going to lie, I did wake up today and immediately look at my phone, hoping that we'd see it. But yeah, still nothing to it. Mark, how are we, bro? Mark said, Robbo to Spurs, here we go. Yep, I shared that in the Anfield Agenda WhatsApp earlier on. Look, it's not a surprise, Mark, is it? We knew he was going, but it still feels weird, doesn't it, to see Robbo in a Spurs shirt, even in a mock-up like that. It just feels weird. But we knew it was happening, so, you know, I wish Robbo the very best on a human level because I love Andy Robertson, but obviously I don't want Spurs doing better than us. So in that one, So look, the GIORGI loan thing, you're probably as confused by this as I was. So don't worry. I'm going to get into it and we're going to go through it. There was also a really good post today by Michael Reed on X that done out all of our homegrown spots, non-homegrown spots, under 21 spots, or under 22 spots, excuse me. And I'll run through all of that for you guys a little bit later on as well, because I found it very interesting reading. And again, I wanted to share that with you guys and have a little chat about it. Mohammed, how are we, bro? Said, hey, Craig, how is it that our rivals sell to each other or buy from each other, but we hardly buy from rival clubs? Am I missing something? I've often asked myself that, Mohammed. You know, you'll see Arsenal, Chelsea doing business, Arsenal, Manchester City doing business. But yeah, it's not like we did buy Oxlade-Chamberlain from Arsenal, but it's not, yeah, it is something that seems to happen with other clubs in the Prem more than us now. I don't know why, or if it's a price thing, because usually if you're going Premier League club to Premier League club, there'd be a fairly hefty fee involved in these things. But yeah, it's a good observation, mate, and truth is, I don't know. But you're not imagining it. At least I don't think you are. I've certainly asked myself exactly that. But also, look, I do hope we are working on something at the minute because lots of sporting directors, lots of football clubs trying to get deals done before the World Cup. And I'm sure Liverpool are being no different on that one. Christina said, Craig, Palace 0-0 at half-time. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Christina. Appreciate you. Right, let's get into the GIORGI Marmirashvili stuff because lots of conjecture around the goalkeeping situation today. So let's start off with Nico Shearer. And Nico Shearer says that GIORGI Marmirashvili wants to play more, and if Alisson stays, Marmirashvili's ready to go out on loan. But interestingly, as the day went on, he said that Liverpool have offered GIORGI Marmirashvili to at least 3 Serie A clubs, which, again, I doubt. I mean, why would we do that? It just makes no sense. Like, fair enough, if GIORGI wants more first-team football, that's a different conversation. We can talk about how much he might get this season with Liverpool. But in no planet can Liverpool send GIORGI out on loan, because we've seen over the past 2 to 3 years, Alisson, of course, should be the number one, but he is probably going to pick up an injury based off the muscle injuries he's picked up in the last 2 years, and we need to have another goalkeeper of top calibre there. So the only reason I can potentially see GIORGI going out on loan is if the club want to cut ties already. But I don't know anything to that effect. It definitely feels like a weird one. So yeah, there was that, and then there was more stuff in the goalkeeping department as well. This one here from Sky News said Liverpool goalkeeper GIORGI Marmirashvili fined for watching phone while driving, which again, oh boy, 6 points on the licence. Keep your eyes on the road. So that's kind of where we're at with the goalkeeping situation, and it's weird. It's weird, like, whatever about the Alisson stuff, to see GIORGI being linked now with moves away, it's just hopefully garbage. Because, look, Woodman isn't good enough. Let's be fair about that. Woodman was brought in to be, you know, a very specific type of keeper for us, a third-choice goalkeeper. But, yeah, what do we think on this one? Do you think there's any credibility to that, or do you think Nico Shearer's talking out his backside? Also on this one, Anfield Edition posted crediting at GLONGARI, saying, while awaiting to understand what Liverpool will decide to do with Alisson, Juventus have made inquiries with the Reds regarding loaning GIORGI Mamardashvili. So there seems to be quite a few links there for GIORGI and Serie A clubs, but I've seen nothing from the English-based journalists around this one to suggest that either it is or isn't possible. I mean, common sense-wise, you think no straight away when you see it, but again, it seems like the clubs over in Italy are pretty much focused on getting one of our goalkeepers. FMW007 said, I think we go and buy another goalkeeper. It just makes me, do you know what, mate? It makes me the more angry that we let Kelleher go. It really just feels like we've made some silly decisions, I think, in certain departments over the last few years. And selling Kelleher while not being fully sure on GIORGI, you just got to ask, who did that deal? Well, we know who did it, but you get my point. Like, who came to that conclusion? Because I don't know a Liverpool fan right now that if we offered Kelleher or GIORGI, I think most of us would come down on the side of Kelleher. Look, I would, but I'm probably biased because I'm Irish. But apart from that, I still probably would go down on Kelleher's side. I think he's a safer pair of hands. Robbie Stewart, how are you, Robbie? He said, too many players aren't good enough. Chiesa, Gomez, Kirkes, Greek Scouts, or Frimpong. Look, I think with regards to Kirkes, we're writing him off way too early. Personally, for me, I think it's too early. Frimpong, I'm a bit more concerned about, and we'll touch more on Jeremy in a minute. Who else was on your list there, bro? Bear with me. Who else was on that list? Where's it gone? Yeah, there we go. So Costas, look, there's been a few things today suggesting Costas could go, and that would make me happy because I don't think Costas is good enough to come back in to replace Andy Robertson in the squad. I just don't. I've always been pretty upfront on that one. But look, on Frimpong, it's a very interesting one because how many careers are Liverpool going to fuck up? Because you've got WIRTZ, whose form has been shocking, and Germany hope that he can rediscover his form with them. But Jeremy Frimpong's missed out on the World Cup. Like, he came to Liverpool after coming from an all-conquering Leverkusen team where he was doing really well, of course. And then he comes to Liverpool, World Cup year, doesn't make the squad. Like, I'm sure that must hurt Jeremy a lot. Now, of course, he's had lots of injuries this season, and it hasn't been the greatest first season with Liverpool for him. But to think he's not going to the World Cup is crazy, because that's not like a stacked Dutch team or anything. There's some good players in it, but to see no Frimpong, it really is mad. And Koeman said that it was because he just wasn't playing enough first team football this season. Richarlison and Robertson on the same team in the same locker room. It'll be interesting to see. Maybe they're going to get rid of Richarlison, I don't know. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see for sure. Chad? If this goes on, we need an entire new squad. I'm intrigued to see what we actually are going to do this summer, because looking around at the wide players situation. So we're going to talk tonight about Bradley Barcola. We're going to talk about Diamonde. One name is off the list now, and Anthony Gordon. Now, lots of English journalists today, James Pearce, I think, and a few others, saying that Liverpool never really revisited the Anthony Gordon interest from previous. Fair enough, but still looking around, there's a lot of clubs looking for wingers at the minute. PSG looking at Diamonde. They're looking at Alvarez to also try and stack their attack from a central perspective. So I'm just worried here, because if the Yan Diamonde situation really does become so messy that the Court of Arbitration for Sport are going to have to hear the case between his two agencies, his Rock Nation, his current agency, and his previous one, well, that could delay a potential move this summer. So if that goes tits up, that's one option off the table, which of course also has a knock-on impact to what PSG would be willing to do with Barcola. And then you've got Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich still on the lookout for a winger. Obviously, they've lost out on Anthony Gordon as well. They weren't willing to get up to the price that Barcelona were, according to multiple reports today. So what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? We surely do have something up our sleeves here, but it's concerning me as a fan anyway. Andrew, how are you, my man? Glad you're back, Craig. Do you think they will spend big if Slot's future is not certain? I wouldn't. I want it. I wouldn't want it for the. I want it for the next guy. Excuse me. I wouldn't. I want it for the next guy. I've no idea what to expect. I really don't. Like, I have to admit something to you, Andrew. I've been so focused on the manager situation that I kind of haven't even thought about transfers as much as I normally would have at this point, because every day I wake up, I look at my phone, hoping that common sense prevails and the manager's gone. But I'm also finding it really difficult to get excited about next season with the idea of knowing we're still going to have Slot as it looks right now. Um, I'm sure I'm going to get a bit of grief for that, but I can't be the only one. You know, I can't be the only one who's not as excited because you don't have the belief in the coach. And if you don't have the belief in the coach, yes, some players will make a difference, but ultimately, when it comes to the nitty gritty, when it comes to the big moments, I just don't have faith in Slot. So I think, I don't know, I just feel strange, really, really strange. How are we looking with the homegrown quota? I have all of that to go through in a minute, Matt. There was a really good post today on X about that, and I'll run through that for you in a minute, my man, I promise you. Elmir, always a pleasure, my friend. And I'm sorry, before I come to you, Elmir, just want to say thank you again to Andrew for 29 months with us as a member, mate. Absolute legend. Anyway, to get back to Elmir's post, nice to see you, Craig. Make sure to take breaks, and Connor is great. Great to see you with energy. P.S. I hope Slot goes. That is something I've actually learned a bit better to do, Elmir. When I took the 3 days off, I really noticed that I needed it. You know, I was mentally drained, and on day 3, I just came back around to myself. Connor has a wedding for the weekend, so he won't be here tomorrow, Friday, Saturday. So it'll just be me, man, in the fourth there. But yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate you as always. How are you, my Australian amigo? How are you, sir? Liverpool keep banging out, we need wingers. What about adding depth to the squad, or do Liverpool even need a bench with Slot as manager? I'm with you on that one, Stevie boy. We need to see Liverpool build out the squad and adding quality. Because for me, and again, I don't know what everybody else thinks, but that to me is one of the main reasons Arsenal won the Premier League this year. Is that even when they had injuries, they had a stacked squad that they were able to lean into and get them through some tough periods. And for us, you know, one of the things about Slot's tenure so far has been that over the 2 seasons, we know when he looks to the bench, there's probably at least 2 or 3 on there that he's no intention of really giving serious minutes to. So, yeah, it's tough because if you think the club aren't fully convinced on him, it's hard to then think that they're going to go huge on transfers. Unless you think that they want to do everything they can to let him succeed and they're going to go again huge. But I really don't know, lads. I don't know what to expect this summer. I wouldn't mind, and I hope we get 1 or 2 early ones through the door, because it would certainly ease the frustrations a little bit if we kind of knew what direction we were trending in. Right, what else have we got? So let's get into that homegrown quota that was asked a second ago. Want to give credit to this post for Michael Reed. So if you want to give Michael a follow on X, it's at Michael_Reed, R-E-I-D, and the number 11. So it's at Michael_Reed 11. So Michael put up a really good post, and he said, ahead of the 2026 summer transfer window, here's how Liverpool's squad numbers are shaping up going into next season if Canade stays. So non-homegrown. At this moment in time, we have 1 space for non-homegrown. 1 space. But we'll get into this a little bit more in a second. So we've got 16 players registered as non-homegrown at the minute. Those players, Alisson Becker, Georgi Mamardashvili, Calvin Ramsey, Virgil van Dijk, Ibrahim Kanade, Milos Kerkez, Kostas, Endo, Dom, Maka, Gravenberch, WIRTZ, Hugo, Fede, Cody, and Isak. They're the non-homegrown players that we currently have registered. On the homegrown side, we have Freddie Woodman, Mrozek, Yaros, Davey. So they're the 4 keepers. Then we have Frimpong, Gomez, Bradley, Beck, Chambers, Mbaya, the young winger. Then we've got Curtis Jones, James McConnell, Stefan Bajcetic, Harvey Elliott, Lucas Stevenson, James Balgisi, Tommy Pillin, Cade Gordon. So On the under-22s list that we also have, so players born in 2005 or later, we've got Armin Pecci, Giovanni Leone, Jeremy Jacquet, Amara Nallo, Callum Scanlon, Willety Lucky, Tala Ndai, Kieran Morrison, Trey Neone, Jaden Dans, Rio Ngamoa, Will Wright, Lewis Kumas, and Carol Figueroa. So that's kind of where we're at. So there's going to be some movement. And obviously, as we know, you can have a maximum of 17 non-homegrown players. If you want to fill out your full 25-man squad, you have to have a minimum of 8 homegrown players in it. And then you can have up to 17 non-homegrown players. So that's kind of where we're at. Now, of course, there's some movement in there that we're going to see. Like, let's say, for instance, I would expect Endo to go, Chiesa to go, maybe Ramsey to go, but I don't know. So there will be 3 or 4 non-homegrown spots freed up. So that's where we're at, for those who are asking. And again, shout out to Michael for that post, because it was extremely helpful to be able to reference that. How does the homegrown thing work? How does one qualify? So you have to have either been born, obviously, in the UK, or been at a club academy for... I can't remember the exact numbers off the top of my head. I'm sure somebody can do a quick search on it. But you have to either have played for an English registered academy for, is it 3 consecutive years or something under the age of 18? Or, of course, be born and raised in the UK, or have parents that would qualify you as well, I think. So, yeah, look, there's a few confusions. Like Andy Robertson, he never counted as homegrown, which was weird, because he was... yeah, that was weird. But yeah, he didn't count as homegrown. What about Ramsey? He's on the list. He's on the list as a non-homegrown. So actually, it must be England. It mustn't even be the UK. It must be England. So yeah, Calvin Ramsey's on the non-homegrown list. So it's Alisson, GIORGI, Calvin, VVD, Canade, Kirkes, Costas, Endo, Soboslai, Maka, Gravenberch, WIRTZ, Ekatike, Chiesa, Gakpo, Isak. That's the non-homegrown list. Is Woodman good enough to be a number 2? No, he isn't. Not at all. Look, fair play to Freddie Woodman stepping up for, when we needed him, but no, he isn't good enough to be a number 2 at Liverpool. It is 3 years. There you go. Yeah, so 3 years. England and Wales only as part of the FA. Thank you, Simon. So there you go. Craig, 11 players are going and they want 7 players in. I don't think that's enough for us anymore, Jason. I don't think it's enough for us anymore. So, to qualify as a homegrown player in England, a footballer, regardless of their nationality, must be registered with any club affiliated with the Football Association or the Football Association of Wales for a period of 3 entire seasons or 36 months before their 21st birthday or the end of the season in which they turn 21. So again, you have to be playing in either England or Wales for a club under the age of 21 for 3 years. So to qualify as a homegrown player in England, a footballer, regardless of their nationality, must be registered with any club affiliated with either the FA or the Welsh FA for a period of 3 entire seasons, 36 months before their 21st birthday or the end of the season in which they turn 21. What's the problem with Woodman? Nothing. He's just not good enough. There's no problem. He's just not good enough. Like, there's a reason he was at Preston and then he came into Liverpool as 3rd choice. He's just not good enough. It doesn't mean anything. Like, he's still a valuable squad member, but, let's be just honest about it. Tom said, my favourite Irishman is back. Haven't been on in the last couple of streams, so wanted to say I'm glad to see you back doing your thing. F the haters, and we all love you. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate you, mate. And it's lovely to be back on for the last few nights as well. LFC_WIB said, Slot will buy Denzel Dumfries and use Frimpong as a replacement for Mo. We won't get the Amonde or Barcola. If we bid... probably argue about $1 million or 2 and then lose another gay situation. I'd actually lose my mind, mate, if that happened. Frimpong isn't good enough to be a wide player for us. He just isn't. He's a wing back. And you can't... Look, I don't think the club would be that stupid to even try and replace Mo with Frimpong now. Surely they go out and get somebody. Oh, Palace have gone 1-0 up, have they? Nice. Surely we all want Palace to win, right? Their fan base pretty good. I like Crystal Palace. Out of curiosity, who scored for Palace? Oh, Mateta scored. Thank you. Appreciate that one. Right, where were we at? Sorry, there was something. Oh, can we talk about Gakpo? Yes, Murtaza. Give me 2 minutes, bro. We'll get back and come round to a conversation about him because, yeah, look, I'm going to be honest, as I always am. I'd be an absolute liar if I told you I'm not praying that Bayern Munich come in with a stupid offer for Cody Gakpo. I can't lie. I don't mind having Cody at the club. I don't. I'm not as angered by him as others have been, but I wouldn't shed a tear or miss it. The only problem that I'd have is we'd need to get an extra winger at that point. But I fully expect Rio to be the starting left-sided player for the future. So Gakpo, in my opinion, will only ever be a backup because, well, he's not going to be able to match the levels that Rio can get up to. So I just don't think I'd be too upset whatsoever if Bayern revisited that interest in Gakpo. But there's one thing that seems to be pretty prevalent this summer is a lot of clubs shopping for wingers. It's almost as if everybody sat back and watched that Bayern Munich PSG game and just thought, wingers, that's the way forward here. It's weird because football is very clicky. Like one team does something, it works, then everybody else starts trying to gravitate towards that. And it feels like this summer, wide players are going to be at a premium and they're probably going to be top dollar. Looking at the way the market's going, you've got Bayern looking for a wide player. Barca have just agreed the deal for Gordon. Liverpool looking for one, maybe two wide players. PSG looking for wide players. Arsenal, I think, looking for a wide player. I'm not even sure about United or what their situation is. Jason Bates said I would pump Bayern for Gakpo. I was about to say I would pump Gakpo there, Jason. I was doing you dirty, mate. Sorry. I would pump Bayern for Gakpo, but two left wingers at Bayern. Why would they need him with Diaz? They want one. I don't know why, mate, but they want another left-sided wide player, which is why they were looking at Gordon and why they had previously looked at Cody. I don't know why, because they're pretty stacked, as you said. They've got Diaz, they've got Gnabry, they've got Elise. So, yeah, they want one more, though. Aaron, how are you, sir? Said, I wouldn't mind Gakpo staying as long as Rio is seen as a legitimate competition for a starting spot. Too much change at once wouldn't be good. I'd still get rid of him if we had the option of getting another left-sided player. I just would, Aaron. Now, I get where you're coming from, but I feel like at this point, I don't know, is there any sense to flogging a dead horse? I don't know, like, I still feel pretty annoyed at the wages he's getting because I don't think he's worth anywhere close to the wages he's getting. And I don't mind him, like I've said, as a player. I'm certainly not as frustrated by him as others have been, but for the right number, I'd absolutely let him go. What I don't want is starting next season. I really don't want us starting with Cody Gakpo through the middle. That'll do my head in. Call me a pessimist, but Liverpool won't do anything until after the World Cup, which is too late. We're going to be underwhelmed this year, or next year, excuse me. I think we are trying to do something. I have to assume that Richie Robot is over in Monaco or Monte Carlo, same place, for some reason. So, yeah, that's he has to be over there for some reason, and it wasn't just obviously. I don't think meeting up with chat with Inter about Curtis Jones. Connor said Gakpo would be a good backup to Rio, but if we got 50 or 60 million from them, I'd absolutely take it. So would I. I would take it in a heartbeat for a few reasons. Getting that wage, I still can't believe they gave him that wage. Like, whoever thought Cody Gakpo's worth upwards of £250,000 a week, that's a fireable offence on its own for me. Itachi, always a pleasure, sir. Said my first full season I spent with you, and while it wasn't a good season, you were always a light to guide me. I never felt alone in this hard season. You also made me grow more as Liverpool with these streams. Thank you. I appreciate you, man. Thank you. It's been a pleasure getting to know you as well, bro, over the season. And yeah, it's definitely not been the season we'd hoped for. I think that's probably an understatement at this point, Itachi. But you know, I definitely appreciated having you guys here throughout the season to even just event and stuff, because God, it was a tough one. Jaden said, I backed the Riot Craig if WIRTZ is sold by FSG. I think that has to be crap, Jaden. It has to be nonsense, mate. I can't see a world where they'd cash in on him. Because imagine he start doing bits then, straight away at Chelsea. It'd be even clearer that Arna's the problem. And then we'd have strengthened the rival. I can also, they don't have any European football either. So, you know, I just can't see any truth to it. It has to be a nonsense story. Absolute legend, Itachi, mate. Thank you. Eddie, how are you, bro? Best, unfortunately, we all know, for as long as Slots at the club. Cody, we're always going to be starting left winger, as much as we want Rio to be. Yeah, it's a tough one, Eddie, isn't it? Because Cody serves a purpose, but he's not dynamic enough. He's not explosive enough. And yes, he can cut in onto that right foot and get a shot away, but he can't stand the man up. He can't take him on from a standing start position. He doesn't have the pace that we need. So, like as Connor said, back up okay, but if the right offer did come in, I'd absolutely look at it if I was Liverpool. Right, so on the poll, we asked, are you a fan of the new home kit? When it gets up to 3,000 votes, we'll knock it on the head. It's just about at 2,500 now. And it's really, really close, this one. 51-49 at the minute, so really close. I don't know how to pronounce this one. SA exponent exponential Nev. SA exponential Nev. There you go. Welcome to Anfield Agenda Ultras, my friend. Absolute legend. Appreciate you being with us. There she is, fresh back from her jolly bobs over to Turkey with the Anfield Agenda suitcase. We love that, Hayley. Craig, you're looking amazing. Been away for a week. Jesus, you can really see it coming off you. Keep it up. Missed AA and not being able to get on. Thank you. I've a long way to go, Hayley. A long way to go in the weight loss, but we're definitely trending in the right direction, thankfully. And I appreciate you. I feel a little bit healthier, but bit by bit, you know, a long way to go. Hopefully by the end of the summer, will you know, I'll look a little bit different. That's the plan anyway. But thank you, Hayley, and I hope you had a wonderful holiday. How do I pronounce your name, sir? Recro? Reqroe. The entire problem with Liverpool, slow wingers. I wouldn't say it's the entire problem, my man, but it's a big part of it. And what really confuses me is, we all talked about this last summer as fans. Like, we all came on and talked about what we needed, what we were lacking in. And pace was a conversation that kept coming up over and over again. So I think that we need to sort out the right back situation. And of course, we need a DM. If we get more pace, a DM, a right back, build out the squad, maybe we'll be a bit better. But look, I find it hard to get excited at all with Arnott in charge. And I know I'm not on my own with that one. Leon, thank you, man, for joining Anfield Agenda FC. Appreciate you. Eddie said, sorry for the spelling, it was supposed to say, but no worries, my man. Let me just go back to your comment, and anyway, I'll go back over it again. But unfortunately, we all know, for as long as Slots at the club, Cody will always be starting left winger as much as we want Rio to be. I think he got away with that, Eddie, this season because of the age profile of Rio. But he ain't going to get away with that again. You know, he just isn't. He's seen the reception in the second to last, the third to last game when he took Rio off and he was booed. Yeah, there's just no way. So here's the question for you. Do you guys... Can you guys get excited about next season? Like, let's say we made a few really good signings. Would that be enough to get you excited for the next season? Like, I'm open to the fact that I could be just a miserable sod here. And I could be just really pessimistic over the whole future. But I'm struggling. I'm struggling. Even with some good signings, I'm struggling. Because I think you could give us the best 5 players in the world now, but if Slot's coaching them in his nonsensical way, I just don't see a path forward. So is there anybody who's changed their mind on Arna? Or maybe has calmed down a bit about it? Because I'm constantly trying to reevaluate my own thoughts on it, but there's just nothing really endearing me to the man. Jacko, how are you, bro? Would you endure Slot for a full season if it guarantees we can land Luis Enrique for the 27-28 season? Really good question. Yes, I would. But I have to caveat, we need to make sure we get Champions League football. Now, that's a mad hypothetical, Jacko, because it's not on the table. But I think that's a good poll question. So let me put it to the chat. It's a hypothetical, of course, but it's a bit of fun, isn't it? So, we're at 2,650 odd votes, and 51% say yes, they do like it. 49% say no, they don't like it. Right, on this one. Okay. Would you take one more Slot season if it meant we then got Enrique? Just to kind of build off on Jacko's question there in the chat, we'll put it to a poll. Would you take one more season of Arne Slot if it meant you were guaranteed to get Enrique the season after? Yeah. There's a couple of bits today that I wanted to move on to talk about as well about Diamonde that I think could be of a concern. So I'll move on to that in a moment's time. I think we get Rio and what? Dio and Cola. Thoughts on Somerville? Dio and Cola. I don't know. That's gone over my head, Leo, mate. Sorry, I'm Diamonde, and who's the other one? I don't know who's Cola. Sorry, that one's gone over my head. So yeah, I don't know on that one, mate. Look, how do I say this without landing myself in trouble again? Oh, Barkala. Oh, sorry, yeah, Barkala. So how do I say this without landing myself in trouble? Without the old I've been told shit. So there's been some reports today that Diamonde may favour a move to Paris over a move to Liverpool because his dad lives in Paris. I'll see if I think I have the post here that I'll read out to you. Bear with me. Sorry, I'm just making sure I've got the right post here for you. No, it's not that one. It's not that one. It's not that one. It's not that one. Sorry, I've got loads of posts here I'm going through. I can't find the report, but there was a report today that said that maybe it was Bence's work with Anfield Watch, perhaps. I can't remember, but there was definitely something that said Diamonde is leaning or could favour PSG because his father lives in Paris and he'd obviously had to move away from his mum at a young age to go over and play football, I think in the United States at 15 years of age, if I'm not mistaken. So the thought process there is if they want him and they can make it happen, that could happen. Now, there is an upside to that for us to some extent, which means they'd probably sell Barcola. But yeah, it's not looking great on the Diamante. Now, I hope Liverpool pull this out of the bag because there's no denying we're there. We're trying to get Diamante, but you know, Benson and a few others I think feel maybe the heartstrings could be pulled on with Paris. And again, if you're him right now, like let's be honest about this. If you're him and you said you can come to Paris and play for Luis Enrique, defending Champions League winner, maybe about to get a second time, but at the very least in the final, or you can come play for Arna, what you doing? I mean, the Premier League's a better league, but if you're going to develop yourself under a coach, you'd be straight away going for Luis Enrique, wouldn't you? Let's be honest about it. Lewis, how are you, bro? Said, hey, Craig, I hope you're well. Would you prefer Diamante or Barcola? I think Diamante has a higher ceiling, but Barcola has a higher floor. I've debated this, Lewis, back and forth, mate, and I keep landing on different sides of it. I think ultimately, I probably would prefer Diamante. But I have to say, I wouldn't be angry if we ended up with Barcola either. Barcola has been proven more, but still has some flaws that I think we'll all admit, his finishing being one of them. So there is that. There is, you know, less of a body of work for Diamante. And it doesn't look as if the prices are going to be a million miles apart for either one of them. So for me, it's probably Diamante, but I could see the logic behind Barcola as well, because he has had, you know, more top level football, you know, both internationally and of course at the Champions League with PSG. So I'd probably come down on the side of Diamante though, because I love the idea of Rio on the left wing, Diamante on the right wing, and then let's say either Hugo or Isak through the middle. That would be delicious. Stevie boy, why is Slot still here? Yeah, that's a question, my man, that I've asked myself many, many times. And the answer I would give probably wouldn't be able to be broadcast. That's why. There's no fucking logical reason for him still to be in a job. When you've got like Lewis Steele, and I covered this last night, but I'll go over it now for you. So when you've got people like Lewis Steele and Dominic King and other journalists who are saying that he's already on thin ice, that's like, how the fuck are you going to win from that? Now, I'm not having a dig at the journalists for writing that, because I actually agree that he's on thin ice. Like, I'm not having a pop at them, but if that's the best we can come up with, that we're already admitting there's doubts. Let me read it out to you. So, Lewis Steele, speaking with our friends at Anfield Index, said, Liverpool haven't deserved Champions League. Slot can count himself very lucky that he's in the Champions League and still in a job. If he had that season at Chelsea or Man United or any of the other big clubs, he would have been gone. He went on to say, patience is already thin at Liverpool with Arne Slot walking on a knife edge. The manager has to change the narrative soon because he has an awful lot to prove and he's going to have to do it quickly. Like, it's just fucking stupid. I'm sorry for the coarse language and so bluntly to put it out there, but it is idiotic. When you've got people saying he's on thin ice, you know how that ends. We all know how that ends. And it ends with him being fired. So why are we waiting? Like, when you've got them saying other top clubs would have fired him, do we want, like, we're the good boys badge or something? Like, this is the problem with FSG not being over football. They either are taking information from the wrong people or they just don't give a shit. But either way, I can understand why Hughes doesn't want him gone, because, of course, he's Hughes' fella. You know, it's his reputation if Flaw fails. So I understand Richard Hughes trying to dig his heels in to keep him. But for the good of the club, like, if we really want to fucking win, it ain't going to be him. And the most important part of all of this is we don't like him. We don't resonate with him. We don't click. We're not going to be won over. And I know people like to go, oh, you're negative. I'm being realistic. Like, I'm not just negative for the sake of it. Every single damn Liverpool fan on the planet has had enough of him. And it feels like we're being tortured going into another season. And the best we can hope for is, what? Sacked in November? Because he isn't going to win twiddly shit. It just needs to stop. They're taking so many good, easy wins here and just trampling on them. Liz said, I want to be excited, but Slot steals my joy. Slot steals my joy. FSG being absent owners pisses me off. The whole thing just feels like they almost want to get credit for being the guys that don't fire managers quickly. This isn't quickly. You could make the argument it's a 16-month collapse and not just one season. Eddie said, I don't care who's saying it, because as long as he's manager, he's going to ruin them anyway, and he'll never win me over. He's never winning me over either, Eddie. We're both on the same page with that one. The very best for me, mate, is I'll shut up about him when the season starts until it's time to start giving out about the performances. But, you know, I don't even know, Eddie, if I can get excited. Let's say we brought in Barcola, Wharton, Kamara, Dumfries, and one or two more. I'm still not feeling like we're going to challenge to win the Premier League next year, because his brand of football is garbage. Stuart Boyd, thank you, bro. WIRTZ rumour. Yes, the rumour, mate, is that Chelsea want him. Let me read it out for you. I think it's garbage for what it's worth, mate, but... So the rumour comes from Footy Insider. They say Xabi Alonso is a huge fan of Florian Wirtz and is keen for Chelsea to sign him this summer in a sensational move. Sources say Liverpool would be open to letting Wirtz go for the right deal, even though they publicly deny it. So that's the rumour. And I have to say, I love a transfer story, but that's garbage. It has to be garbage. Brad, how are you, dude? Evening, mate. It's bloody warm. What do you think we'll face on the first game of the new season? I'm thinking Crystal Palace. So, two things on that one. Firstly, hang on. Strap yourselves in, because I feel like tonight's going to be a long one. So, get the cocoa, sit down, relax. Let's have a bit of fun. I think tonight I'm going to stream longer. I'm not putting out a late video, so let's have a bit of fun this evening. I don't know who we get in the first game of the season, Brad, but I'm going to say it now. Don't fall for the fake fixtures. Every year, the night before or 2 days before, there's a fake list leaked and it's always false, and some people always fall for it. So don't fall for that, is the first thing I'd say. Who will we get? I'm going to say Sunderland away is my guess. Yeah, that's my guess, Brad. Sunderland away. Also, there were some links to Harvey Elliott and Leeds United that I want to talk about in a little while as well. I think that would be a great move for Harvey Elliott, by the way. I really, really do. And I think Leeds fans would absolutely love him, because, like us, they appreciate somebody with good effort. So yeah, for me, I think that would be a good move. Now, there is some conversations as well with Leipzig that, you know, he could be included in any potential deal for Diamonde, but I don't know if that's a bit of lazy reporting, because he was previously linked with Leipzig. Mr. A. Centino, how are you, my man? Always a pleasure. Said this is part of the problem. I don't think we're getting any of these big names. There's no way. Not while Slot is here. Let's be realistic here. So, in my cynical mind, excuse me, that's exactly what FSG want. In my cynical mind, mate, that's what they want. Is not have to justify not have to spend huge money, and then ultimately Slot failing, and then they're bringing in the new coach, and then they'll delay the transfer window in January and make some horseshit excuse about how the right players aren't available, or the new coach needs to get their feet under the table, or something like that, and then we go rinse and repeat again. I've spoken to so many Liverpool fans that feel like, are we going to get punished now because FSG had to spend money last year and it's gone this bad? Because I'd have some sympathy with them in that regard. Like, if I was an owner of a football club and I sanctioned £450 million worth of signings, two of them being British transfer records, and neither of them, not one of our signings, made it into the signing of the season. That Romano posted earlier on, that there's a Premier League signing of the season or best transfer of the season award, and none of ours are anywhere near it. Gyökeres somehow got into it. Adrian Truffert was there. Antoine Semenyo was there. Dominic fucking Calvert-Lewin was there. Dominic Calvert-Lewin. And yet we couldn't get Hugo, Frimpong, WIRTZ, Isak. Nobody. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is in there, and that's the level. That's the standard. And we didn't even get to that standard. Oh my God. Somebody go and check outside, see if I'm about to get punked or something, will you? Because this all feels fucking mental. We need to go all out for Wharton. It's funny because people go back and forth on Wharton. Some people think he's really good. Some people think he isn't the level. I'd happily bring in Wharton. I've always said to you, in my mind, I can see Wharton being a Macca replacement, and I can see Curtis Jones being replaced by a DM, because I think we have enough central midfielders that, if we lost two, let's say number 8s, I think we only need to replace one. That's my take on it anyway. Wharton and Kamara. I'm hoping, and I don't have anything on this, so please don't take it as me trying to say something's happening, but you'd have to imagine with Hughes being over in Monte Carlo / Monaco that something is happening there with regards to an incoming for us. Calvert-Lewin did have 14 goals, to be fair. Yeah, I know, but come on, dude. Do you know what I mean? Not what I mean, but sorry, I should probably explain my stance a bit more. What I mean by that is, we've gone out and broken the British transfer record twice, and not one of the players did anywhere near good enough in season 1 to even get into the mix for that. That's kind of where I'm coming from with it. Like, when you've spent the money we have, 450 million, and not one of them players gets into the 6 or 8 signings of the season thing, it feels like, at the very least, questionable about how we spent that money. Now, fair, if we really drill down into it, you'd have to say sometimes year 1 doesn't go as planned, especially for players coming into the Prem from abroad. But I can't get what Jamie Carragher said a few months ago out of my head about there not really been many examples of somebody who comes in year 1, doesn't make a huge splash, but goes on to become an icon at the club. I'm hoping WIRTZ can break that, but that's where I'm at anyway. Mr. A. Centino said we're not getting either. I am a bit like, if let's say Diamonde's situation with the Court of Arbitration for Sport becomes a problem, that has a knock-on impact then. And I'll read this out to you because it gives a good understanding of the situation. So, one sec. So this came from Ryan Taylor of the Mirror. Said, RB Leipzig are adamant Liverpool target Jan Diamonde is going nowhere this summer. Diamonde is also at the centre of a legal dispute. He signed with Jay-Z's agency Rock Nation Sports in February, but rival company Maxidel claimed Diamonde is still contractually bound to their agency. The Court of Arbitration for Sport is now investigating the matter and has registered a case which will require Diamonde to comply. It's partially why there is a firm chance he will stay put in Germany, particularly given as it's a World Cup year. So that is really important to us for two reasons. If Diamonde doesn't go anywhere, it also decreases the likelihood of Barcola being available, because PSG are looking at the likes of Julian Alvarez as a central striker, and they're also looking at Diamonde. So no Diamonde for us or them means no Barcola probably either. Now you can throw into the mix that Bayern also need a left-sided wide player, and I'm back to scratching my head trying to figure out what the hell happens, because I really don't know. We've got to get this right. We have got to get this wide player right. There cannot be any dicking about. It has to be right. Richie Robot is the only reason why he's still here. Yeah, I think so. Honestly, I do, mate. I think so. I think that Richie Robot doesn't want to admit he's wrong. That's my take on it. And I get it. If I was in his shoes, I probably wouldn't want to admit I shit the bed either. But they got it wrong. Whatever they looked into with Arne Slot, there's a glaring mistake in his personality. You know, whatever about the coaching stuff and all, there's just a huge glaring mistake in that for me, because he isn't a Liverpool manager. Fnordy Wing said, just joined, is WIRTZ to Chelsea really happening? I don't think so, mate, but it's reported. Now, it is reported from one of the less, I'm trying to be kind here, it's reported from a questionable place, but it is reported. So it was Footy Insider 247 have said, I'll read it out one more time, 1 second, that Xabi Alonso is a huge fan of WIRTZ and is keen for Chelsea to sign him this summer in a sensational move. Sources say Liverpool would be open to letting WIRTZ go for the right deal, even though they would publicly deny that. So I think it's garbage. Man, I even get angry when I see his face. So somebody in our Discord, shout out to Danny, sent me an AI image of me choking Arne Slot. And I'm not going to lie, I have reflected on that photograph many times today so far. I shared it with our WhatsApp as well, but it brings me joy. It brings me joy. I'm not going to lie, it does. It brings me joy. Colin said, hi, Greg. Liverpool will not win any trophies with Slot. Well, I think we should say any more trophies with Slot, but because I agree, Colin. I agree. Yeah, I agree. And deep down, I think the club know that as well, which makes it all the more disgusting at the minute. Can I show the photo? Connor, am I allowed to show the photo? Like, I don't know, will I get in trouble if I show this photo, Connor? Is it like, will somebody try to say I'm pushing violence or something if I post this? I have to get Connor's approval. He's the head of Anfield Agenda Human Resources. So if Connor says I can show it, I'll show it. If Connor says I can't show it, then blame Connor. So we'll wait to see what Crosby says on it. If Connor says I can show it, we'll show it. I have the picture ready. HR says it's okay. I just got the nod from HR. Right, here we go. There you go. That was sent to me by Danny in our Discord. So yeah, I mean, a couple of glaring mistakes there. Obviously, the Adidas stripes don't go fully down the arm, but other than that, I'm not gonna lie, lads. I've reflected on this photograph multiple times today, and it just makes me smile. No, I don't condone violence, and I'm not urging anybody to ever act violently. It's not the answer. But we're allowed to dream, we're allowed to dream, But again, don't condone violence. Bald on bald violence is never the answer. Yeah, remember that. Bald on bald violence is never the answer. Right, Mark said, saw a quote today, Slot's still here because sacking him now goes on this season's PSR results and New Year start June the 7th. So if he's still here by then, he's staying. So there's been loads of dates thrown around, Mark. Like, I can't remember who said it was today that he was supposed to be sacked. I don't remember who it was. But somebody said Wednesday. Obviously, Wednesday isn't over yet, but we're most of the way through Wednesday and that hasn't happened. Look, on the PSR stuff, I can't believe we're that hard up for 8 or 10 million quid that we couldn't fire him now or stick him on fucking gardening leave for a month. You could get around that by putting him on gardening leave and then paying it out, officially sacking him on the 8th. So I don't know if that makes any sense. Wilfred Gibson said, evening Craig, watched Liverpool as loyal supporter for 66 years. Excuse me, I'm doing you dirty there, Wilfred, mate, sorry. For 66 years, find myself gauging managers with shanks. I'm going to start this one again, Wilfred, because I've absolutely rinsed this comment for you, bro. Evening Craig, I've watched Liverpool as a loyal supporter for 66 years. I find myself gauging managers with shanks. Wish Slot had the football brain of one of Shank's figures. Sadly, he's not even got the fingernail. So, I think I'm remembering this correctly. When Paisley took over from Shankly, he won the title year 1 and won the title year 2. I think I'm right in saying that. With Arne, we win the title year 1 with Jurgen's team, and then we come 5th in year 2. And have a 24-point swing in the opposite direction. That's not Liverpool. And that's not acceptable. Like, that phrase, standing on the shoulders of giants, it's a phrase for a reason. And Arne don't belong on those shoulders for me. Because it's become pretty clear to many of us that it was the remnants of Klopp's team that got him over the line. We're not paying 100 million for anybody. We need to be real. Lucky if we get Somerville and Bowen. I'm not biting on any buys until I see it. So for me, Asantino, I joked earlier on going, yeah, we're going to end up with Yakuba Minta for 100 million quid, aren't we? So I'm as pessimistic as you are, mate. And I really don't know what's going to happen this summer. There's a lot of question marks incoming and outgoing that we need to see. Now, there's some good bits of news as well, like Jeremy Jacquet being able to have a full preseason. That's good news. USA Copbite, you're about 10 minutes behind, mate. We've already shown the picture. Yeah, so that's good news. And it looks like Leone's in the final stages of his rehab. That's good news. But here we are now, nearly the end of May. We still don't really know what's happening with Canada. There's been no confirmation on that. We don't know what's happening with Maka. We don't know what's happening with Dom's contracts. They're both coming into that time now where you would expect some renewal conversations. We know Virgil has 1 year to go. Ali has 1 year to go. GIORGI, according to some reports today, is getting annoyed about being number 2, and he wants to be guaranteed first team football on a more regular basis. So there's been some links with him in a loan move, which for us would be just ridiculous to even think about. Derek said, don't get me wrong, I like us buying young talented, but I think we need players for the here and now. Slot won't play young players, case in point Rio. I agree, Derek. Like, we've had a real drain of experience lately. Even if you throw Curtis Jones into this mix. So, he's quite experienced, certainly at Liverpool and what the Premier League and our football club entails. We've seen Salah go, Robertson go. We've never really replaced some leaders in the past, like Wijnaldum. So yeah, it's confusing, and it's why I keep saying, Derek, I've no problem if we bring in somebody like a Diamonde on the right, but I'd like that to be counteracted with somebody more experienced like a Jared Bowen, because experience is important. And look, there's something exciting about a fresh, young, new team that gives you lots of hope. But if you really want to win, well, that young team is going to have a pretty exceptional coach like a Luis Enrique. And Mr. Supertan ain't it. Toira, how are you, my man? Hey, Craig, everything going well? Yeah, tickety-boo, dude. Tickety-boo. Can't really complain. I just want to say a thank you again. Like, I was very nervous about coming back on over the last few days. And I know the mods have done a great job removing some of the over-the-top trolling comments. But the part that I want to highlight is the amount of positive stuff. Because I understand as a person, I often gravitate to the negative stuff, because when you're insecure and somebody says something that you're already doubting about in yourself, it hits home more. But I've made a point of reading as many kind comments as I can over the last few days, and I don't deserve it. I don't deserve the grace you're all showing me, but I appreciate it. I really do, and it's made such a difference to being able to come back. Because even though I've doing this for 8 years now, even 3-4 days away, the nerves kick back in. But you guys have made it so much easier, and it really has been a huge help to me. So thank you, and to the moderators as well. Absolute legends. There's a rumour companion money has been set aside for people departing from earnest young Liverpool bankers. Look, we're probably again going to have a fair chunk of people departing this summer. So, like, if we look at it, you could see Chiesa going, Endo going, Jones going, Gomez going, Salah has gone, Robbo has gone, Canade we don't know about, so we'll put him in the staying camp for now. So that's 6, and I don't think I'm being outlandish with those 6. So let's say we replace 4 of them. I still think we need another 3. Are we really going to get 7 in this summer? Because if there's one slight thing I did give Arnott a bit of credit for, when he said that we got rid of more players than we brought in last year, he ain't wrong. Like, he isn't wrong on that. But I think this just leads me to believe even more that the people making decisions at our football club, they should all go. Like, I think Hughes, Edwards and Slot should all be fired at this point, because I think they've gotten away with too much, and they've gotten away with it by pro-club media letting them away with it, if that makes sense. Because they made a wrong decision on Slot. They've certainly made a wrong decision on some of the transfer business over the last season. They definitely have fucked up on the contracts and how many players are running down. They've overpaid, in my opinion, players to stay at the football club. And it just feels like a mess. And then, again, the last day of the season thing, it all feels like there's a huge gulf between the executives and the lifeblood of the club, which is the fans. And we keep talking about this disconnect, but it doesn't need to be there. Like, there's no need to have the disconnect between the fan base and those making decisions at the club to the extent it has been. And a lot of it is to do with them all just digging their heels in over the Slot situation, which for the life of me, I just can't understand. Edwards, Linda, FSG, nothing at the farewell was mad. So I can't confirm this, but someone did say to me that Linda, who has always been brilliant with her posts around Liverpool, I wouldn't talk down about John W. Henry's wife, not at all. I think she's a wonderful lady, and I always enjoy her interactions with Liverpool fans. But someone said to me that she didn't even post on the last day, which for her would be really unusual. She's always got an uplifting or kind post to put out there. And somebody was saying that she didn't even post on the last day, let alone be there. So if that's true, that is definitely a weird one. Congratulations to Crystal Palace, by the way. You guys have just confirmed to me that Crystal Palace have won the Europa Conference League. Congratulations to them, which will mean, of course, they'll be in the Europa League next season. Oliver Glasner departs, having become the most successful manager, I think, in Crystal Palace history. I'm truly delighted for them. Great fan base, good football club. The only negative I have about them, of course, is Chris Bull, but that's, you know, that's not their problem. So yeah, delighted for them. Well done, Crystal Palace. Congratulations. And English clubs' dominance of the Europa Conference League continues. Since you've done it last year, what's your team of the season? So that's a video I will make over the coming days and weeks. I'm trying to hold off on a few things till we're into the new studio. So we're aiming to be in next Wednesday in the studio and putting out our first bits of content from next Wednesday. So hopefully that goes to plan. We're also going to start putting out the content on Anfield Agenda Extra with Lewis and Bence. They're going to be putting out some bits. Connor's going to be putting out some bits. So yeah, lots of stuff coming up. We're going to be doubling up the podcast episodes every week as well. So there's going to be at least 2 podcast episodes every week. We'll start with a loss or a draw, slot standards. So let's say that happens. You know what's going to happen with the fans at that point. You know what's going to happen. Even a draw, and it'll start. You know, this is what I don't get. There is no winning this back. It's just a matter of when at this point and not if. And he's acknowledged that himself last season. Many journalists and pundits have acknowledged it multiple times. How many former Liverpool players have you seen say some variation of, when you lose the Anfield crowd, it's really difficult to win it back? And to win it back, you have to at least have the personality that endears you to Liverpool fans. And he ain't got that. So I just can't see it. I really can't see it. Harry said, what do you expect Jacquet's game time to be? I got to be honest, Harry, I don't know all that much about Jeremy Jacquet. So I really don't know what to expect from game time. Like, I don't know if he's going straight into the team. Look, Canade makes me nervous. I'll say that. Canade can have brilliant games, but our defenders have gotten into this horrible habit of pushing people when they're shooting. And I hate it, because it's a penalty waiting to happen. And I've seen Van Dijk and Canade leaning into and extending arms and pushing players off balance when they're shooting way too more than I'm comfortable with. And to me, it's because of shoddy defending. It's because too late. You've already lost your man. You're already out of position. You're playing catch up. You're reading the game wrong. And that's what you're resorting to. It does my head in. And us dropping off as well does my head in. So I hope Jacquet is coming into play from the start. But like I said, I'm not really up to speed on how good he really is, because I haven't watched Ron play much at all. And I thought he was going to end up at Chelsea. So yeah, hopefully it's good. But does anybody else notice that about our centre backs, by the way? They just, this constant leaning in and pushing when someone's shooting. It annoys me, because I find it's like shithouse defending. Mikan Jutsu? Excuse my pronunciation, my friend. I don't see why we should go for Barcola. PSG clearly don't want him as the big next thing if they want to go all out for Diamonde. I guess, mate, you could probably... Like, I had a similar thought process around Ryan Gravenberch leaving Bayern Munich. And you could make the same argument about Mohamed Salah leaving Chelsea. So sometimes it's just maybe they can't guarantee the player enough game time, because Kavisha Kvaratskhelia is, and Doué seem to be Enrique's favoured wide players. And if there's an honest conversation there, perhaps, and just because maybe he can't get into one team doesn't mean it won't come across and work well in another team. And I made a similar point to you, mate, about Ryan Gravenberch, but a couple of months in, I came on and did a video or a stream and I said, look, I was wrong. I didn't need to doubt or have any worry about why Bayern were getting rid of him, because he came into our team and we've seen the difference he made in the title winning season as well. So, yeah, that's all I can say, mate, because you could apply that to every transfer, really, couldn't you? You know, like if anyone's leaving, why are they leaving? You know, if he's not good enough for them, why is he good enough for us? So you just, I guess, sometimes have to take that leap of faith and hope people know what they're doing. Mr. A. Santino said, how can we trust they get this right when they don't listen to the fan base? I don't trust the people that hired Slot to begin with. It's terrible. I don't know how to answer the question because I have the same question. Look, I've always had gripe with FSG because I don't think they want to win. It sounds stupid saying that out loud. And people will say, but Craig, we've won 2 Premier League titles, a European Cup, League Cup, FA Cup. I get all of that. But like I said, when you have moments like last January where your season's at a fork in the road and you have an option to push on to win something this season or to make your chances of winning something better, and time again under FSG, we've taken the cheap option or the do nothing option. Whether it's bringing in Ozan Kabak, Ben Davies, whether it's going out and getting Arthur Melo, whether it's allowing Semenyo and Mark Gay to go to Manchester City last January, all of it to me just stinks as owners that don't sit up at night concerned about winning every trophy. I want hungry bastard owners of Liverpool Football Club. I want ownership group that is distraught if there's one season without a trophy. Because we often talk about the Liverpool way. The Liverpool standard should be the words that is used here. Because you don't become the club that Liverpool have become by accepting mediocrity. It's so weird to see the Liverpool way be conflated into, well, we just don't sack managers. Why? He's not good enough. This we don't sack managers malarkey needs to go out the window. Just admit he's not good enough. You made a mistake. Fire him. We move on. Or mutually agree to part, whatever way you want to phrase it. But there's only so many, like, I've spoken to Danny in our Discord, who's a season ticket holder, and it broke his heart handing over the season ticket money this year. Not because he doesn't support Liverpool and he doesn't love the club. Of course he does. He's been going all of his life. But he's got fear, and rightly so, that he's handing over the guts of £900, and he doesn't want another season like this garbage. And all we have from Slot is, trust me, bro. You know, it's very clear. A couple of signings and we'll be grand. But yet he couldn't get it right for the whole fucking season. Like, it's just really hard to take a leap of faith with people you just don't have faith in. Connor said, don't understand the thinking with Hughes. If he'd sacked Arnott in January, nobody would have said he'd failed. When he sacks him in November, now he will be. Shot himself in the foot, really. Exactly that. And like I said at the very start of the stream, Connor, when you've got journalists, and I can only say these two because I've seen them say it, and I'm not saying others haven't, but when you've got a journalist like Dominic King or Lewis Steele saying that he's on a knife edge already, you know, and that his goodwill is limited, I mean, what's the point of that? We know how that ends because he's not going to be perfect. You know, there are going to be times where fans are frustrated. That's natural. But if you've got goodwill towards a manager, you'll see them through that. But I think all of our patience and goodwill have been tested over and over and over again this year. And we're so far away from believing in him. It just feels so unnecessarily stupid. Right, let's look at our poll. So, we asked, would you take one more Slot season if it meant we got Enrique at the end of it? We'll let it go for another couple of minutes. If you haven't voted on it, please do. Get comfortable tonight, folks, because you know we're in for the long haul. We're gonna have a long stream tonight because I'm in good form. I'm full of energy, and that's rare. So let's keep going. Craig, would you look at Rodrigo again for the wing? No, because of the ACL stuff. You know, because like the best case scenario, somebody come back from an ACL, you're probably going to have the guts of a season, getting your bearings back, learning to trust your body. And look, we've seen Gomez, Van Dijk, and others come back from that injury. Oxlade-Chamberlain as well, if my memory's right. And every one of those players that I can remember spoke about not fully trusting their body to the same extent where that range of motion or explosiveness felt as comfortable as it would have before for them. So no, for that reason, mate, no, not for me. Christina said that photo was funny, made me smile. It is obviously only meant in a fun way. Like nobody's trying to be aggro or anything like that. Oliver said we'll end up with some sixth option boring winger. The winger stuff, I'm going between excited and petrified, because if the stories that Diamonde, if he does move, is more likely to go to Paris, that's one thing, because at least you think, okay, we might get Barcola. But if he goes nowhere, like if the stuff with Rock Nation and his agency drags on and no deal is done, what do we do? Because PSG aren't going to sell Barcola unless they have options, and they're not going to leave themselves short. So if Diamonde doesn't move anywhere, you've still got PSG looking for an attacker, Liverpool looking for a winger, Bayern Munich looking for a winger, Newcastle maybe looking for a winger to replace Anthony Gordon. And by the way, I'm sure you've seen this, but Anthony Gordon got a here we go to Newcastle. I'm not joking. Anthony Gordon, here we go to Newcastle, or to Barca, excuse me, from Newcastle. Insanity. Romano posted at 18 minutes past 7 to say, breaking, Anthony Gordon to Barcelona, here we go. Official bid accepted by Newcastle board and Saudi owners. €70 million fixed fee plus add-ons to bring the final package over €80 million. Gordon set to travel this week for medical and contract signing at FC Barcelona, which is mad. It's mad. Right, so Curtis Jones, let's talk about this for a minute. DiMarzio said there was a meeting between Inter Milan and Liverpool regarding Curtis Jones, but there is still no agreement between the parties. DiMarzio said the gap between Inter's offer and Liverpool's asking price is about €10 million. Liverpool are demanding about €30 million, I think it is, plus a percentage of any future sale, while Inter remain firm at €20 million. So, yeah, it does look as if Jones wants out at this point, because for this story, again, the negotiations come around this quickly. It really does feel like, for whatever reason, Curtis Jones ain't going to be here. So, Space, ITK Space, posted earlier on about the Bradley Barcola situation. Let me read this one out to you. Bayern Munich, through Max Erbel and Vincent Kompany, have now made concrete contact with Moussa Sissoko for the first time this window regarding Bradley Barcola after being rejected by Anthony Gordon, who is more inclined to move to Barcelona. The interest is concrete, with Bayern prepared to offer a significant salary and explore PSG's financial demands. During those contacts, Bayern were informed that Bradley Barcola would be open to leaving PSG, but like so many others, he currently views Liverpool and, surprisingly, Arsenal more favourably, with Liverpool in particular understood to carry serious appeal around the players' camp. Bayern's internal feeling is that Liverpool currently have Yan Diamonde as their priority, which could see Liverpool option Barcola fall away in the near future, although there remains a high possibility that Diamonde stays for another season before making his major move. It's worth mentioning that Bayern Munich already got turned away by Barcola last summer, and once again they were forced into the shadows, waiting to see whether Liverpool, England's most crimson cathedral of football, where Anfield glows beneath the cold Merseyside sky. I mean, he's really going very, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for here? Expression? Fucking, yeah, ChatGPT, let's go with that. And said, interestingly, Arsenal decide to intensify because only if the grander doors remain closed does Munich get a knock, not as a destination, but as the consolation prize. So, yeah, lots going on. We need definitely squad upgrades, but I would also wouldn't spend another penny on slot squad. What a mess we've got ourselves in. And as Connor said before, kind of fixable if they just did the right thing, which would have been sacking him in November, December. And certainly at the end of the season. Like, the longer this goes on, the worse everybody looks. FSG, Hughes, all of it. WIRTZ to play less minutes next season. You would imagine he has to play less minutes, yeah, because he played every minute of this season, I think, in the Prem, or pretty much every minute. So, yeah, we got lucky this year. We got lucky that Canade didn't have as many of the injuries as he's had in the past, muscle injuries and stuff like that, and that Virgil was able to play all season. Yeah, we absolutely got away with it on that one. And then we have to plan for life after Virgil. And on that, actually, let's talk about one more situation. I don't know if I have it in my notes, but if not, I have it to memory, so I can talk about it a different way if I need to. Is it this one? No, I don't have it in my notes. Where was I going? Virgil, centre back. No, I've tripped myself up. I'll come back to it. What was I talking about? Virgil, centre back. No, sorry, I've lost track. Do you think we would have had less than 59 points if we played Trey, Ramsey and Rio in the correct position? Seems like Slot would rather lose with players out of position than to lose with young players. I guess the answer is I don't know, mate, but like you, I would have preferred to see players playing in their natural position, because just because somebody can do a role, I still want specialists, even if it is somebody who's young, because at least their future is being benefited by getting these minutes. And you say what you want about Kloppo's time, he won the League Cup with young players by giving them a chance. And yes, sometimes he supplemented in and around, but that's another aspect of Arne Slot that has just been annoying. And it goes all the way back to the last transfer window, where I read a story, and I have to say, I can't say it to be fact, but I read a story and it said that Richard Hughes wanted Arne to play Rio for the season, and Arne wanted Barcola. He wanted a here and now player. And obviously, we kind of got in the halfway house of not really getting either, because we barely seen enough of Rio. Slot tries to hide behind the stat that he's played the most minutes of any 17-year-old. I don't care. He still didn't play enough, because how we finished that season was a disgrace again. Reminder, we needed 4 points from the last 12 to guarantee ourselves Champions League football. We got 2 and fell over the line. So, Liverpool have contacted the agents of Denzel Dumfries to confirm that the right back is still on their radar. The 30-year-old has a €25 million release clause in his inter-contract that will be active in July. Thoughts on that one, ladies and gents? I said this last night, I'll repeat it again. If Arne wasn't the manager and we were signing Dumfries, I'd be all right about it. But because he's Dutch and Arne's Dutch, and we've seen Arne revert to type of Ten Hag, I don't want it. I don't want Arne having more Dutch players. I don't mind Dutch players, nothing against them, but I don't want the Dutch manager just bringing in Dutch players. That's ridiculous. And that's exactly what I used to mock Ten Hag about at Manchester United, that he only went to the Eredivisie or players he'd coached with or played with before. I don't know. I don't know, lads. It's just, where's the wins? Do you know where's the easy wins for us? The one bit of good news today from a young player perspective is that there has been a new deal agreed. Kieran Morrison signed a new 4-year deal, which will keep him at Liverpool till 2030. So that is some good news, and congratulations to Kieran Morrison on that one. You know, he looked exciting in the few bits we've seen of him this season. Craig, based on the poll, it doesn't mean nobody doesn't want Enrique. We're just that desperate that we want to get rid of him. Oh, look, the poll was just a bit of fun because somebody asked the super chat and I thought I'd run it as a poll. So, yeah, we have, it's pretty close. So Alifa got to 3,000 votes. The question is, would you take one more season of slot if it meant you were guaranteed to get Enrique at the end of it? I feel like Jerome. So glad you're back, Craig, and doing well. What 4 Liverpool players would you choose to do a heist with? Oh, what a question. What a question. So, to do a heist, I'd want calm, composed people. So I want Virgil immediately. I want Virgil. I want his calm presence around. I think Hugo as well. I think I bring Hugo along. I can see Hugo being inventive if we need to be. Who else would I have? I would have had Salah, but obviously Salah isn't around anymore. So who would I bring on a heist with me? Endo. Endo seems very composed, calm, methodical. So yeah, Virgil, Endo, Hugo. How many was it to answer? 4. So one more. WIRTZ, probably, because you need a German. You always need a German. For anything, you need a German. So yeah, Endo, WIRTZ, Hugo, Virgil. Good question. I love them crazy ones. Bone 50-50 or better odds. So I was looking at that earlier on, actually. It's funny you mentioned that. He's even money to stay at West Ham. He's 4-1 to go to Manchester United, and he's 9-2, so 4.5-1 to go to Liverpool. So he's actually shorter odds to go to Manchester United than he is to Liverpool. And look, that may have changed, but that was what I'd seen earlier on. Andrew said, "Hey Craig, just got in. What have I missed? Glad to see you back, mate. I'm scared that we could miss a top manager this summer due to keeping this clown slot." Not a lot, really. Andrew, we've talked a little bit about the crazy story from Footy Insider linking Alonso and Chelsea with a move for WIRTZ, and even more crazy to say that Liverpool will be open to letting him go, although they deny that publicly, is what they said. We talked about Anthony Gordon and his impending move to Barcelona, which again feels really weird to say out loud. We discussed GIORGI Mamardashvili and some reports that he's unhappy and Liverpool could send him out on loan. I think it was Nico Shearer said Liverpool have contacted 3 Serie A clubs, or at least 3 Serie A clubs have been contacted offering him on loan. What else we talked about? We've talked about Diamonde, Barcola, a potential hiccup for Diamonde if the agency battle goes to the Court of Arbitration for Sport as it looks to. That could delay things there. A few other bits and pieces, Andrew, but I think that's probably the gist of it, mate. Club seems in chaos. I'm worried for the summer window. I'm worried for the summer window for 2 reasons. One, I've no faith in anybody coming in being improved by Slot. And 2, I'm worried about the window anyway. Because right now, are we as attractive as we were a summer ago? You'd have to say no, right? A summer ago, we were the Premier League champions who looked like we were bringing in top quality talent and everybody was shitting themselves. Let's be honest, they were. I've got messages from United fans, Arsenal fans that are mates of mine messaging us after the transfer window saying, well, that's you dominating. So I think all of that just makes it really difficult to be optimistic about us being as attractive as we should be. You know, of course, you're still Liverpool Football Club, still have Champions League football. But let's say you're Diamonde. Who do you want to go and play for? Arne Slot or Luis Enrique? It's not even a debate, is it? You're going to play for Luis Enrique every day of the week. And that's a concern. And if you looked at the Champions League semi-finals this year, and Vince and company and Bayern were looking at you, or Luis Enrique and PSG were looking at you, you're thinking, that's some good attacking, open, expansive football there. Wouldn't mind me a bit of that. So, yeah, I think while we have Slot in charge and FSG being absent owners, yeah, I think we're not as attractive as we were. At least that's my take on it. But you'll always be attractive as Liverpool Football Club. You've got Champions League football. But if you're really battling for the creme de la creme, if you want the best of the best, you've got to be able to make your case. And, whatever they told the WIRTZ last summer hasn't really panned out, has it? So Andrew also said, maybe if Rio changed his name to Rio van Basten, he'd get more game time. So I do sort of understand a little bit with Rio. Like, I'm all about not rushing young players in. But circumstances kind of dictated we had to this year. And I would have liked a bit more. But look, of all the things I'm angry at Slot about and the club about, the Rio thing, I'm not as angry because deep down, a big part of me knows I don't want Rio burnt out at 26, 27, overplayed. I don't want another Michael Owen situation where an explosive player's hamstring goes and they aren't as explosive. So deep down, I think I kind of get that, but I don't know. It's hard to really see the fear factor coming back in. And that's, to me, one of Slot's biggest black marks. He's taken Anfield, which was a fortress, and just sucked all the life and fear factor out of it. And this is what we have now. And it's going to take a while to build that back up. And he isn't going to be the one to do it, in my opinion. Why aren't we developing Ramsey instead of buying? I think the only answer I can give you there, Tino, is the manager doesn't want to. And look, also with Calvin Ramsey, we have to be honest when we have the conversation. Say he's had injury concerns himself over the time he's moved from Aberdeen down to us. Some of his loans haven't gone well, so I think we need a right back. Like, even if we are saying let's develop Ramsey, is he really going to win us a league title if Bradley's injured? Are we really going to be? I don't think so. So I think while the market's open and you have the possibility to bring in another right back, I think we should do it. But I do think there are some players on the fringes that Liverpool need to start making decisions on. By Cecic, Jayden Danns. I think, who else have we got out on loan? There's one player's name I always forget. Kumas. Young Kumas. We have to make a decision on him. Obviously, we've seen a new deal today for Kieran Morrison, which is good news. But does that mean we're going to see more of Kieran Morrison? Is he going to go out on loan? Gamer Crazy. Thank you, my friend, for your super chat. And said, hey, Craig, awesome stream. Thank you. Who do you think should be our new vice captain? Good question. Who should be our vice captain? Szoboszlai. Has to be, right? Has to be. For me, it has to be Szoboszlai. I mean, just looking around, he's the one to me that screams leadership next. So yeah, I would say him. I'd take Slot on a heist to be the fall guy. I like your thinking, my man. I like your thinking. To be the fall guy. Brendan said Ramsey can't stay fit and he hasn't shown over a season he's good enough. So there have been issues with his fitness, mate. There's no denying that. I remember a few of his loans cut short in that as well. What are the chances Slot makes Gakpo vice captain? I've no idea. I wouldn't even know how to start guessing that. See, I'm saying Szoboszlai because I remember an interview with Szoboszlai where he spoke about accepting on more leadership and trying to be more proactive in a leadership sense. So I'm kind of thinking that's almost implied then. Good question from David. Who's taking the pens? Good question. Who's My instincts would say Szoboszlai or Maka. Don't know if Maka would be playing enough to be the first penalty taker. So Dom or Isak are probably the two guesses for me. Do you think Isak will finally explode next season? No. I'm not saying he'll fail, but explode? It's hard to say yes, because we've not seen any indication that Slot knows how to get the best out of Isak. Now, the lazy excuse now is that we didn't have pace, but fuck me. Like, why did you waste a year then? Like, if Slot knows we need wide players with pace to get more out of Isak, why'd you waste a year bringing none in? Again, these things doesn't get challenged enough for me. These stupid statements of his, just the journalists should be pushing back on this shit. You know? How do you come to the conclusion after wasting a year, when it's a conclusion that even a casual fan would have been able to tell you a year ago? It just feels weird. The whole Isak situation now feels like it's a huge potential problem, you know, and that's before we talk about his fitness. Of course, we all want him to work out. We all know how good Isak can be, but we can only deal with the reality of what we see. And of course, I hope Isak hits the ground running and bags 35 goals next year, but we don't have any real evidence to suggest it's going to happen yet. If we finally get sense and get rid of Slot, please stay away from Glasner. The guy never stays at a club for more than 3 years, and we deserve a lot better. I don't think Glasner is a good fit for us. I don't think his style of football is a good fit for us. Yeah, for me, the dream's Enrique. Then after that, I would have taken Alonso happily. Nagelsmann, Hones, Iriola perhaps. What would you think of getting Nico Williams? Knows the club, plays both sides, homegrown, can't be expensive, need a Robber replacement, only 25. In a heartbeat, mate. In a heartbeat. Would I take Nico Williams back in a heartbeat? I know he's been playing more on the left side, or at least when I've watched Forest, he's been on the left side, but like you've said, can play either side. And yeah, I'm sure Forest wouldn't want to sell, but I would take him back in a heartbeat if Liverpool wanted to do that. At 25, I think perfect. Right, so we've gone over 3,000 votes. So we said, would you take one more season with Slot if it meant we got Enrique? Lads, you've surprised me. 52% said no, they wouldn't take another season with Slot to get Enrique. How does it feel knowing that we could have another season with Slot and then he gets sacked and we still don't get Enrique? But yeah, I would love to know whether the ones that voted no because they don't want to sit through another year with Slot. I'd say that's probably why. Any other polls you guys would like to see? I mean, it's your show, as always. I'm going to stay on for another 45 minutes, probably. So stick with me if you want it. I'm feeling full of energy tonight, so I'm happy to stay on here. Let me run through my news and see, because I know there's a few bits I haven't gone into yet. So Anfield Index said that Liverpool are desperate to keep Director of Development Pedro Marquez at the club. They're making serious efforts internally to keep him at Anfield, who is viewed as a hugely influential figure in the recruitment side. Poll, sell Isak and Gakpo. But we're not going to sell Isak. So let's do the Gakpo poll. Let's do that one. Right, would you sell Gakpo for £60 million? Would you sell Gakpo for 60 million quid? Because it'll be interesting to see if Bayern do come knocking, because of course they've lost out on Gordon. They want another left-sided player. They'd previously been linked with Gakpo in the past. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there. Oh, Grizzly, thank you, my man. Gifted 5 memberships. I nearly missed that, Grizzly. Thank you, bro. Appreciate you. Really kind of you. Only 30 minutes more and you're full of energy. Let's make it another hour. Honestly, I'm in great form today. I knew this was one of the streams. I knew even if I came on and there was going to be a load of trolling, I knew I was in the right headspace for it. As well, Manchester United close to agreeing a deal for Ederson of Atalanta, which frustrates me because regular viewers of the channel will know I've liked Ederson for a long time, and I think he would have been a very astute piece of business for us. If Gordon's 80 million, why is Gakpo 60? Because I couldn't bring myself to write a higher number. That's the honest answer. I was actually thinking about going down to 50, to be honest. But yeah, that's the honest answer. I couldn't bring myself to put a higher number than that. So Magpie Media said that Newcastle have held talks with Monaco over a move for 22-year-old Senegalese midfielder Lamine Camara, according to Mark Douglas. And that, to be fair, I've seen that reported a few times, so it isn't just Mark Douglas. I think there's been a belief that they are looking at him because they think they're going to lose Camara, or excuse me, Tonali, maybe Bruno Guimaraes, but they know they're going to be in the market for a midfielder. Ben Palmer said, paid roughly 40-50 mil for Gakpo, including add-ons. Genuinely love if the club just got their money back. It's the contract as well that worries me, Ben. It's the contract, dude, you know. Whoever gave him that new deal and thought those numbers made sense, I don't know what to say. It's ridiculous. Tom said, evening, Craig. How are we, Tom? A word on Andy Robertson from a West Ham fan. What a player. Not just the work ethic or the fight, but the skill. Big miss. Oh, Tom, I couldn't agree more. You know, he's just loved by us. And Spurs are getting one hell of a leader in that dressing room. And I really appreciate you saying that, Tom, because I've loved every minute of Andy Robertson at Liverpool Football Club. He is everything I love in a footballer, for all the reasons and more that you've pointed out, Tom. And also, I want to say, mate, commiserations on going down. I hope you come back up. I know it looks like Nuno's going to be kept on there to try and get you back up. I'm not going to lie, Tom. I hope we come in and take Bowen. I'd love Jared Bowen at Liverpool, but yeah, really felt for you guys going down. Medusa said we might lose Tonali to United. Have Arsenal still been sniffing around him? Medusa Cascade, by the way, is a Newcastle fan. Are Arsenal still sniffing around him, or is that dead? There's also been talk, by the way, that Arsenal could look to sell Martin Odegaard and buy Morgan Rogers. That's been a conversation that's been had in a couple of shows that I've watched. You're realistic starting 11 for next season for us. Well, firstly, Izzy, thank you for 23 months with us. Allison, Bradley, Jacquet, Van Dijk, Kirkes, Wharton, Gravenberch, Soboslai, Rio, WIRTZ through the middle, and I don't know, on the right. I'm really struggling to pick out the centre forward play here because I don't know. I just have a bad feeling about Isak in the World Cup. So also, I'm trying to figure out how you get WIRTZ back into the midfield. You know, if you're going to have a holding midfielder, you're going to have Szoboszlai in there. So if you put WIRTZ in there, then Gravenberch isn't getting enough game time. So I'm kind of struggling to find that balance, is the honest answer. But yeah, I think something like that maybe. Because I'd like to say Alisson, Bradley, Xhaka, Van Dijk, Kirkes, Wharton, Szoboszlai, WIRTZ, Rio, Isak, and I don't know who the right one would be, but let's just say Diamonde for argument's sake. That would be good. But yeah, what do you do in the midfield? Like, where do we get that balance from? WIRTZ to Chelsea if it meant we got Elise. For me, no. I don't want to give up WIRTZ. I don't know if I'm on my own here, but I just don't want us to even consider doing business for Florian Wirtz. I don't. You know, I'm adamant if Slot was gone, we'd have a better player there. I'm absolutely 100% adamant a decent coach would get more out of Wirtz. So I don't want to take. I've said this before, I'll say it again. I see him at the level that he could potentially win a Ballon d'Or in the future. That's how highly I think of him. I'm not going to sit here and say we've seen enough of that this year. We haven't. But I'm willing to give him the year's grace. But if Slot's there, I have my concern. I have my concern because I don't know if he knows really how to use Wirtz. Loose links to Arsenal. United currently have a delegation in Italy to get Ederson done. Tonali's agents are based in Italy. Also, have had talks. Yeah, look, Tonali. I think Tonali's doing you dirty, Medusa. I think he owes Newcastle because Newcastle were extremely loyal to him after all the whole betting fiasco. So I think he owes Newcastle. I really do. But if Newcastle think they can get enough money from Gordon, maybe Tonali to help rebuild and push them on, maybe they think that's the right decision. Sharkovic said, if I was Liverpool, I'd be selling Gravenberch. Not for me, mate. No, not for me. I'd sell Maka and Jones tomorrow. I would. I can't lie. I'd sell both of them tomorrow, and I'd get Wharton and Kamara, or Wharton and Sangar, or Wharton and whomever look. Ideally, Anderson, Elliot Anderson, and Wharton. But yeah, I'd do that in a heartbeat. I don't think I'm on my own in saying that. Curtis Jones, it looks like he's leaving. Unless something very, very drastic happens, it definitely looks like he's trending in the direction of moving. You know, as DiMarzio and others reported, Inter are still there for him. So let's see if something happens on that one. But yeah, and all of this is before we look at putting a team together with the right character, the right attributes, the right fight, the right spirit, the right tenacity, the right skill level, the right pace. It's becoming more and more daunting as the weeks go by. Where are we on this one? So the question is, Gakpo, would you sell him for 60 million quid? That's the poll question at the minute. Jason said, for me, Gravenberch is a luxury player we can't afford. When games are tight, we need somebody who can pass the ball, but we need a destroyer in front of the back four, not venture out unless we've pressed up. I agree with all of that, but I just think his ability to play all the midfield positions for me, and even at a real push centre back, is why I think we should keep him, and his age profile. So that's where I'd be at with it. I would move heaven and earth to make sure Dom got a new deal, and What I'm worried about is, imagine you're Dominic Szoboszlai's representatives and you're sitting down to talk to Liverpool Football Club. Your starting position is going to be Ryan Gravenberch's wage. You're not even having a conversation unless 270 starts. That's opening number. And rightly so. I really think Liverpool have painted themselves into a stupid corner here with the contracts they've given out to Gravenberch and Gakpo. It just seemed like mad numbers. Lou, Mitch, how are you, dude? Said, hey, Craig, just finished watching the conference final, and I have to say, Wharton would be generational signing. He offers so much both defensively and going forward. He's absolutely unbelievable. So I know David Lynch the other day, and David would have more on this than I would, said he thinks if Liverpool wants the deal for Wharton, the deal's there. And I think maybe this is why we're seeing the Jones conversation happen with Inter this early, that maybe Liverpool will look to free up that space by getting rid of Jones and bringing in another homegrown player in Wharton, which would, again, make sense to me. And I would consider that an upgrade. Actually, let's ask that. Never mind the Gakpo comment, because we all know people want to would sell Gakpo, 92 million. Check. So, obviously there'd be money involved, but just positionally at the club, would you swap Curtis Jones for Wharton? And I mean that, would you have Jones leaving for Wharton coming in? Would you support that as a fan? Because you also have to admit there's the scouts part of it, and that is important. It is important to have some local heartbeat at the club, but not above all else. There has to be justified as well. So for me, in a heartbeat, I would take Wharton over Jones. In a heartbeat. Abdullah Bass said, Craig, it would be a mistake if you let Gakpo go. Last season he was great. This season he wasn't as bad as people say. Since Diaz got sold, we expect Gakpo to do things we know he can't do. Well, I've defended him against exactly that all season, mate. I agree with you on that. I think he's been expected to do things that he's never been able to do. And I wouldn't be running him out of the club. But let's say, for instance, let's say it was possible in some greedy pig universe where we could get Barcola and Diamande. I'd have no problem selling Gakpo to help fund that. To have, let's say, Barcola, Diamande, young Rio. And we could probably still say we need another person for the right. Maybe then you could say Frimpong at a push, but even at that, I think I've been kind. It'd have to be, we'd have to have players lined up, definitely. And Gakpo always chips in with a fair amount. And I think what you've said is more than fair. I do think we all need scapegoats. We do. We all look for a scapegoat, whether it's a manager, a player, a referee. And I think many times this season, Gakpo has gotten the brunt of the frustration for the playing side of it. Some of it somewhat deserved, some of it not. But I do think what you've said about people expecting him to do things that he never did, I think there's some credibility to that. Wharton doesn't work in a 2 with our current midfielders. We have to buy top DM as well. 100%, Brendan. A DM is a gimme. Wharton is not a DM in my eyes. He's a box-to-box midfielder for me. And I'm with you. 100% we need to bring in an out-and-out number 6. Without a doubt, mate. At MW97 LFC, welcome to Anfield Agenda FC, my friend. Daniel Hammond, how are you, my man? Said, WIRTZ class. Team has underperformed due to tactics, style, and slot being diluted. I love the last bit, mate. Well in. The Dutch way doesn't work in the Prem. And it doesn't. And every time I hear Slot talk about winning the title in his first year, every fibre of my body wants to scream at the television. And, well, every fibre of my body wants to. But, yeah, I'm with you. I don't have any faith we turn this around with him in charge. I don't, and I wouldn't even bet. I wouldn't bet 50 quid that he's here by that he's still here at Christmas. I wouldn't. Kareem said, I'd not even consider buying too many players given the amount of uncertainty with the manager. So this is where the sporting director is supposed to earn his crust, because that's the whole point of that role. You know, we've often talked about this. When you've got a sporting director at a football club, the point of that role is that if you need to change the coach, which makes it even more fucking egregious to me that they're staying with Slot, because the point is, if you pick up your coach and you drop your coach, you can go in, bring in another coach, and the coach comes in to coach what's there. But the sporting director sets the footballing philosophy, sets the tone from the underage teams right up to make sure that there's a constant churn of players coming through that play in the way Liverpool want to play. Sporting director sets that agenda. So that's another reason why I find it even more egregious that they're not removing Slot. Because it's not like they're removing a manager that is over everything at the club. You've got Richie Robot doing that. So in theory, that's the fucking point of it. And he's not doing his job because he's backing Arna. So yeah, that's where my head's at. And it makes a mockery of the whole sporting director role for me, because if the coach isn't working, the sporting director role is supposed to mean you remove the coach and there isn't as much upheaval at the club. But we don't know what's happening with our sporting director in 12 months' time. Nor do we know what's happening with Edwards in 12 months' time. Nor do we know what's happening with Arnott in 12 months' time. Yes, Gordon to Barca. The here we go has been done in it, mate. Romano said earlier on, yeah, here we go. I'll read it out to you. He said, breaking, Anthony Gordon to Barcelona, here we go. Official bid accepted now by Newcastle board and Saudi owners. 70 million euro fixed fee plus add-ons to bring a total package over 80 million euro. Gordon set to travel this week for a medical and a contract signing. I bet the sporting director would leave alongside Slot as well. I don't really have the time to put in a poll, but remove Michael Edwards for a minute. Do you think that Richard Hughes should go along with Arne Slot? The reason I'm going to say no is I think we need Richard Hughes to have this window. Whatever happens, we need a sporting director in place, and deals will have been worked upon for months. So for me, the idea of sacking Richard Hughes at the same time as Slot is a non-starter. But I would sack him after the window closes. I have to be honest, I would. I'd be ruthless in that regard. I'd get him to do the deals now and then I'd be gone. As soon as the window closes, adios, off you pop. Because I think it's justified. And I think it's even more justified because by all the accounts and reports, he's never lost any faith in Arne. And that truly astounds me. Would Tonali fit? I think Tonali would grace pretty much any team in Europe, to be honest with you. I rate Sandro Tonali really highly. Phil said it's going to take us another 9 years to get back to where we were before Slot joined, the longer he stays. David said, Craig, you're clearly forgetting the data. Well, I don't know about you, David, but if ever I do get round to buying a new shirt this year, if they sack Slot, I'm just getting 1-0, 1-0, 1-0, 1-0, 1-0 on the back of my shirt. You know, because team data all the way. Or algorithm 1-0, something like that. Or 0-1 maybe. Or Spearman. Maybe Spearman 26 or something like that. What would Rio learn the most in the World Cup team? What player would Rio learn the most from in the World Cup team? I think Saka would be a good one for him to be around. Honestly, I think it would. Madueke, like any of the wide players. Honestly, I think any young player there going into the England setup, any of the players there learn from. Yeah, Saka though would be the one that comes to mind initially. Dad till we die, Craig. Oh, that's it. Dad is never wrong. It's never wrong. Even though the data looks very corrupted at this point. So, does anybody think it's a bit too quiet at the minute? It feels like something's bubbling, but I don't know if it's good or bad. It's just an eerie feeling that I have at the minute. Just something doesn't feel. I don't know what the word I'm looking for here is, except it just doesn't feel right at the minute. There's something that just feels off about our club. I've run through a few things in my head. Are FSG looking to get out? What's going to happen with Hughes and Slot? Are they working on big deals, or are we going to be underwhelmed again? Yeah. What's this about WIRTZ? Steve, there was let me read it out for you, mate. 1 second. So there was an article in Footy Insider that said, Xabi Alonso is a huge fan of Florian Wirtz and is keen for Chelsea to sign him this summer in a sensational move. Sources say Liverpool would be open to letting Wirtz go for the right deal, even though they would publicly deny it. Now, Steve, for what it's worth, I think it's absolute pony of the highest order, but, we said we talk about it. Harvey Elliott is keen on a transfer to Leeds United from Liverpool, according to Football Insider. The outlet claims that Harvey Elliott would be interested in a move to Elland Road, with Liverpool already having given the green light for a summer sale. Elliott's main priority is to find a club where he can get regular game time after spending the majority of the campaign with Aston Villa on the sidelines. The report says Leeds are interested in the midfielder. So the geniuses, the data, the number munchers, they've said, let's send Harvey Elliott to Villa, which has ended up costing FSG 10 or 15 million quid in lost revenue for the player. They've also brought in Chiesa, who the manager hasn't wanted, and wasted another 12 million quid transfer fee plus 2 years of wages there. They've also shit the bed in the goalkeeping department and got rid of Kelleher. They've let the contract situation get into an absolute mess, and they're back in Arne Slot's continued failure. Fucking tickety-boo. All good. And I don't think I've exaggerated anything there, for what it's worth. I don't. All of those things are their errors. And then we have to have sympathy for too much in one window when the geniuses decided to do diddly squat in year one, other than adding in Chiesa that nobody seemed to want at the club. Not fan-wise, but coach-wise. Geniuses. Absolute geniuses. And these are the smart people who remove emotion from the decision-making process and rely on the numbers. I don't know if Ralph Wiggum is doing the numbers for them, but it all feels a little bit Pete-tongue. Mr. A. Centino said, I think we should take our expectations down a bit. We always do this. We dream high, get bin players. Why do we do this to ourselves every year? I think, Mr. A. Centino, as football fans, the bare minimum you expect is to be able to dream, right? And we don't really have great dreams for Slot for next season. So I think maybe some shiny new players is the best dreaming that we can do right now. And you're right, over the course of their time here, I've more often than not been underwhelmed by the transfer windows. But I don't know, man, if you can't dream, like, what's the point? Like, even in those 30 years, I was deluded enough as a Liverpool fan to be one of it's our year. It's going to be our year. But all of that makes what's happening now all the more angering for Liverpool fans, because it isn't the first time we've seen us win a league and make a shite defence of it. And we didn't seemingly learn lessons. And I'm fed up of it. And I'm fed up of the good grace that too many people give to the club because they won't challenge it. They won't question it. It's ridiculous. I want to see if I still have this post. Hang on, there was something. Okay, here we go. So there was a post earlier on that somebody replied to Dominic King's article in the Telegraph, and Dominic King's article's headline was, "This was Liverpool's most toxic season in 16 years." And one of the lines was, "The level of opprobrium that has rained down on Arne Slot on so many occasions crossed the line," according to King. "Liverpool fans have always had high standards, but Slot has come under attack in a way that none of his precedenters have done, and it's not hard to blah, blah, blah." But I really enjoyed this post, somebody quoting it, and it's at Adel_Al-Mishri. Said, "I'm glad the so-called closed circle journalists and content creators around Liverpool are finally being exposed. I've been saying this for nearly 10 years. It never made sense to me how almost every big Liverpool journalist, insider account, and major YouTuber always seem to push the exact same narrative as the club. Hi. I'm like you, mate. I'm the most watched Liverpool fan channel, and I am anything but towing the company line. So I would say, Adele, don't lump us in with that lot. But anyway, let's keep going." He said, "No real disagreement, no serious criticism, no uncomfortable questions, just different people repeating the same talking points in slightly different ways. That's not normal. In football, fans disagree. Former players disagree. Coaches disagree. Even with the club itself, people disagree internally. That's healthy. That's a real football culture. So how is it possible that an entire media ecosystem around one of the biggest clubs in the world always sounds perfectly aligned whenever big decisions are made? Whether it's ownership decisions, transfer failures, contract situations, sporting direction, or lowering standards, the pattern was always the same. Protect the hierarchy, gaslight the fans, frame criticism as toxicity, attack supporters who question questions or who ask questions. And the moment things started collapsing on the pitch, the mask slowly began to fall. Suddenly people are noticing what some of us noticed years ago. Access journalism changes people. When your career, interviews, early information, invitations, and connections depend on staying close to the club, many stop acting like journalists and start acting like PR extensions. The club doesn't mean every journalist is. This doesn't mean every journalist is corrupt or every creator is dishonest. But pretending there hasn't been an obvious coordinated culture around Liverpool media for years is simply insulting people's intelligence. The saddest part is that many fans were mocked for years just for wanting accountability and higher standards. Liverpool became a club where questioning decisions was treated worse than the bad decisions themselves." Absolutely, mate. Abso-bloody-lutely. And I've been, like your good self, who I don't know, Adele, I've been saying that since day dot on this channel, that you aren't allowed to be a dissenting voice. There's no room for you. You're squashed, you're labelled as toxic, you're blacklisted, and you're pushed to the side. For having what? For having ambition for your club, for caring about your club, for wanting the best for your club and questioning what is obvious failures. So he's absolutely right. I agree with pretty much every word that he wrote, apart from the fact that he says no YouTubers. I call them out all the time, mate. I get grief for it every day of the week, but I call the club out when I perceive them not doing enough. And I certainly call journalists out. I would say I'm one of the early adopters of calling out journalists, and I'm certainly the most high profile of the Liverpool fan accounts to constantly call them out. So I don't know what you guys think, but I agree wholeheartedly with that sentiment, because that's been my lived experience as a Liverpool fan, even moving aside from the content. I've said it many times on here. How often do you see one person run with a story and then bang, 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 variations of that same story? Liverpool do that. Tony Barrett and Liverpool's media team are absolutely making sure that what they want as the narrative is being pushed out there. It's absolutely true. And I'm absolutely glad more and more people are calling it out. And it's the thing I've said to you guys I'm maybe most proud of it other than our community, is that I feel like people now see if somebody makes a bit of a stand, maybe more people can. Because it is bullshit. And they're right. There needs to be more sincere questioning of what's going on. There needs to be more accountability. There needs to be more difficult questions asked. And it's not asking too much. We're asking for what we get in politics, what we get in financial terms, what we get with every other type of media. Craig, it's got nothing to do with Liverpool, but have you watched any of the F1 this year? I haven't really, mate, to be honest, no. I just don't have the time. I tried to keep up with boxing, the darts, obviously football. So yeah, I just don't have the time. Are we doing a special player rating for the whole season video idea? Yes, I will. I have a few video ideas attached to you that I want to get done when we're in the new studio, which should be next Wednesday, all going to plan. But the mad thing is, I tell you now, it'll fall on its arse, because it does every year. Every time I try to do something like that, and I tell you what I've done all season, I've kept notes of every game. I made a point of doing it at the start of the season, of all the major talking points from every game, and I have them all in my notes on my phone all the way through the season, every day, every moment, every incident. So yeah, I hope to be able to do a few of them over the course of the summer. Looking forward to seeing Leone back in action. Felt cheated with how little we got to see of the young lad. 60 minutes we got, he looked to be some talent. I think it was 80 something minutes, but yeah, I agree. And that's all I need to see to know he was good enough. That was it for me. I seen that and I'm thinking, yep, he's good enough. Right, how about this? How about I run through all of my news stories from start to finish before we finish up? So don't send in a super chat or anything. Sounds like Silva is off to Benfica, said Medusa. Just my opinion. I don't rate Wharton over Jones. No problem, David, of course. You're absolutely entitled to that opinion, my man. I know a lot of people who don't rate Wharton that highly. But yeah, let's go through the news from start to finish. And then if you can, don't send in any more super chats or anything like that, because I might not get a chance to read them, and I don't want you to waste your money or feel like I've ignored it. So yeah, let me fly through this for you. It's going to take me quite a few minutes because it is quite a list of stories. Right, so let's start off. I'll do this in chronological order as when we have them. So Lewis Steele, speaking with our friends at Anfield Index, said Liverpool haven't deserved Champions League. Slot can count himself very lucky that he's in the Champions League and still in a job. If he had that season at Chelsea, Man United or any of the other big clubs, he would have been gone. Continuing on with Lewis Steele and Anfield Index, he said patience is already thin at Liverpool with Arne Slot walking on a knife edge. The manager has to change the narrative soon because he has an awful lot to prove and he's going to have to do it quickly. We all know he won't though. And the narrative isn't going to change because the fans don't want him. And they can try and ram him down our throats as much as they want. We don't want him. GIORGI Mamardashvili wants to play more. If Alisson stays, Mamardashvili is ready to leave Liverpool on loan, said Nico Shearer. Nico Shearer also posted to say that GIORGI Mamardashvili has been offered to at least 3 Serie A clubs. This from Internews. Liverpool have contacted the agents of Denzel Dumfries to confirm that the right-back is still on the radar. The 30-year-old has a release clause of €25 million in his inter-contract that will become active in July. Paul Joyce said Liverpool will make signing at least one winger a priority this summer after Mohamed Salah's departure, and Anthony Gordon's versatility in playing multiple positions across the front line also appeals to them. So, lads, everybody thinks the sun shines out of Paul Joyce's arse. He's saying here, today, that Liverpool think highly of Gordon and he appeals to them, whereas Pearce and others have come out and said that Liverpool didn't revisit Anthony Gordon. Just putting it out there for you, because I'm not having a go at Paul Joyce, but everybody gets shit wrong. And Anthony Gordon is going to Barcelona, so that's not happening. He said the RB Leipzig teenager Yan Diamonde features prominently on Liverpool's list of targets as they gear up for a key summer. DiMarzio said a transfer meeting took place in Monte Carlo, Monaco, between Inter and Liverpool, where sporting directors Piero Ausilio and Richard Hughes also discussed transfer matters, including a player of interest to the Italian club. The main focus was Curtis Jones, who has been on Inter's radar for some time. Interest in him dates back to January last transfer window, although nothing concrete has materialised so far. Jones remains a highly valued target for Inter's recruitment team. Following direct conversation between the two clubs, a potential move is considered more than just speculation and remains a genuine possibility. However, no agreement has been reached yet, with both sides continuing talks to see if a deal can be found. Then we moved on to Ryan Taylor in the Mirror, saying RB Leipzig are adamant Liverpool target Yan Diamonde is going nowhere this summer. Diamonde is also at the centre of a legal dispute. He signed with Jay-Z's agency Rock Nation Sports in February, but rival company Maxidel claimed Diamonde is still contractually bound to their stable. The Court of Arbitration for Sport is now investigating the matter and has registered a case which will require Diamonde to comply. It's partially why there is a firm chance he'll stay put in Germany, particularly given it's a World Cup year. Same piece, Ryan Taylor Sport said, if RB Leipzig maintain their hardline stance about keeping Diamonde, this could also complicate the picture for Bradley Barcola. PSG are only primed to consider offers for Barcola if they can land Diamonde. Then we had the story on Sky News about GIORGI Mamardashvili fined and given 6 penalty points for being on his phone while driving. We can move past that one because it's happened. Liverpool could use Harvey Elliott in a cash plus player deal as they tried to sign Yan Diamonde. Liverpool have made capture of a new winger a priority, with Diamonde high on their list. Again, this is in the Times. Bild have said Liverpool can re-sign Jarell Quansah for around £50 million next summer after deciding not to trigger the 2026 buyback clause, which stood at £67 million. The defender will spend another season at Bayer Leverkusen. So I'm wondering, if Liverpool do trigger that next year, will that be to replace Virgil? But interesting to see that it was £67 million if you wanted to buy him this summer, but next summer the buyback clause drops down to 50. So, Footy Insider, and this was the story that we talked about earlier on, Xabi Alonso is a huge fan of Florian Wirtz and is keen to sign him this summer in a sensational move. Sources say Liverpool will be open to letting Wirtz go for the right deal, even if they publicly deny that. Then James Pearce said Liverpool winger Kieran Morrison has signed a new 4-year contract to keep him at Anfield until 2030. Football Insider report that Harvey Elliott is keen on a transfer to Leeds United. Then we had Anfield Index saying that Liverpool are desperate to keep Director of Development Pedro Marquez at the club. They're making serious efforts internally to keep him at Anfield, who is viewed as a hugely influential figure in the recruitment side. Then we went through Michael Reed's very good, basically, what would I call this? Excel spreadsheet, where they list the homegrown players, the non-homegrown players, and the notable 22s. But basically, we've one non-homegrown spot left as things stand, but more positions are going to free up, obviously with some departures. Then we had David Ornstein confirming that Barcelona, Anthony Gordon, made a bid, €80 million. That, of course, led to it being, here we go, from Fabrizio Romano. Manchester United are close to agreeing a deal with Atalanta for Ederson, reports Sky Sports. This report from whoever at Glon Gary is, Anfield Edition posted this, said, while awaiting to understand Liverpool will pursue Alisson, Juventus have made inquiries with the Reds regarding the possibility of loaning GIORGI Mamardashvili. Then we had the Bayern ITK Space account talking about Vince and company looking for Bradley Barcola as well, as they look like they're going to lose out on Diamonde. GIORGI Mamardashvili has been offered to 3 Serie A clubs for a season loan, said Nico Shearer. DiMarzio said there was a meeting between Inter Milan and Liverpool regarding Curtis Jones, but there's still no agreement between the parties, and there's a £10 million difference in the asking price and what's being offered. Then we had Magpie Media saying that MSI Douglas said Liverpool or Newcastle, excuse me, Newcastle have held talks with Monaco over a move for Lamine Camara. Then we had Fabrizio Romano giving a here we go for Andy Robertson to go to Spurs. And that is pretty much where I'm at with the news. I think I've gone through most of it there. So yeah, that's pretty much where we're at, folks. Somebody said new channel. Yes, we're changing this channel. Is it this one? No, this one. This channel, the Anfield Agenda Clips channel, is going to become Anfield Agenda Extra on the 1st of June. And we're going to have Bents, and we're going to have Lewis, and we're going to have Connor and more faces on there making more content. I'm going to be putting content on there, but it's going to be non-Liverpool content, but with a Liverpool opinion. And then, of course, I'll be still here on the main channel doing the watch-alongs and all the usual stuff. There's still a few days left as well to enter a giveaway where you can win a signed framed Robbie Fowler shirt completely free. All you have to do to enter is scan the QR code there, which will bring you into the Anfield Agenda WhatsApp, and you will see the post on how to enter the competition. Also, want to say a huge thank you to our sponsors tonight, Surfshark. Reminder, if you are looking for a VPN or anything like that, get 4 months free with Surfshark. If you take out a year-long package, you get that additional 4 months, but thank you to them for their support. Right, I'm going to go because my voice is starting to crack, and it's been a really fun 2.5 hours or so, folks, but thank you for joining me. If I can ask you one little favour before you head off, do hit that like button for us, and if you haven't subscribed, we'd love you to do that as well. Connor will be away for the next 3 days, so it'll be just yours truly taking you through Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And yeah, appreciate you. But yeah, if you could do me that little favour, just hit that like button for me before you head off. And yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. Much love. Take care.